That's fine. Listen, it sounds like to me that the town can certainly say it's been a good neighbor to Uncle Sam.
Okay.
And it's,
Well, I have a comment.
the only thing that caught me off guard when I wasn't at the committee, but I obviously heard about it. That was, in December, there was quite a little bit of gnashing of teeth, and Mr. Green it was a big motion. It was a 7-0 vote. I would have liked to known that was going on. It kind of shocked me the other day, but long as I guess my main point is this, Mr. Norbeck. What you did for FAST, you would do with any new business person coming in here. If they said, "Look, we're getting ready to open up a chain grocery store,"
Can I put a 2-inch meter now?
you would help them do that.
They get the 2 inch.
Then I'll swallow my pride here and say I'm okay with that. As long as we're consistent and fair, that's my main thing. Consistent and fairness, and it seems like you have been. But like I said, when we left that meeting in December, I was saying, "Hey, 329.6,"
We all did.
because I was thinking Armory or whatever, or just reserves. Any members of council have anything? We'll move on.
I'm gonna ask you a question first. I do not approve of, or I don't advocate micromanaging. I had a nice conversation with Chief Kuzmiak today, and he asked me something. I said, "You the chief, go chief." And I do that with you too. Is that a fair statement?
That's correct.
I just think in this particular instance that this council was fairly resolute about go get that money. And although I think you've saved them money, and in the long run, the maintenance and so forth. And I don't want you to take this the wrong way. I'm making a suggestion. I'm not being critical of what you did. I would try to gauge the spirit of what we're doing. I'm like Billy. It kind of took me back. What? So because we were so adamant about. They paid the county more than the county asked for.
$4.7 million.
In the county, you know what I'm saying? And it's $500-600 million project, and you're gonna we were adamant about that. I guess in the future, when you detect that, just get us in the loop. But I think you've done the right thing. I would just like to have known. It's like I've told you privately. I don't really care what you do. I just want to know. So if someone in Food Line stops me and says, "Hey, what's going on XYZ Street?" I need to know. That's what I'm saying. Okay.
Okay. Fair enough.
Anything else on that committee? Thank you, Mr. Green. Thank you, Mr. Norbeck. We have we covered some of this. Our buildings, property, cemetery. I believe some of this has been covered.
No, I do have.
Mr. Green.
Let me make sure here. I had several recommendations from the committee. First is the Armory. It is my intention to have a roundtable meeting on September the 11th at 4 p.m. And I was going to speak with the chief and see if he could make the conference room available on September 11th and have a roundtable meeting with the committee and with the Save the Armory group. I think there's been some confusion on what they can do at the committee meetings, or can they speak, or I made some comments at one of our meetings at the committee meetings. There would be no bantering back and forth. And the reason I said that is it's not fair to these two members to hear what these three members heard from constituents. So, in my opinion, until I'm told otherwise, the committees are to do a lot of legwork and come up with recommendations for the council.
Right.
We have no authority or anything else. So I'm proposing, it's my intention I've informed the committee, if that date is fine, then we will have a roundtable meeting with the Save the Armory group, and then we'll come to the council with some recommendations.
Very good.
The cemetery policy, I would ask the council to disregard the policy that's enclosed in the packet.
Disregard that.
Disregard
Okay.
that. That is the bulk of it. But there's a couple of items that we felt were gray areas, and Philip and his staff are going to do what we recommended earlier, check with some of our sister towns.
Very good.
Bon Secours lease, Mr. Manager, what update do you have on that?
Bon Secours has sent us a lease agreement, and it has a dollar figure, it has a term, it has many of the things that a typical lease would include. However, it does have a caveat in it that the town will solely reimburse the agents representing the tenant.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's not something I've ever been familiar with, and it's it's a several $1,000 commission that they're requiring as part of the negotiations. They're asking.
$6,000 or $8,000 a year or
Yeah, it's- it-
something. I mean, I forgot the number. It was so ludicrous.
So I protested and I said, we're not really interested in paying your agent. You can pay your agent. If we bring an agent to the table, we'll pay our agent, as is typical in a real estate transaction. And we received in writing, the town did, no, that is exactly what we intend for you to do, is to pay CB Rich Ellis, our agent. So I made a second protest to Harold Cummings, who is with Bon Secours, and I'm awaiting a formal response from him, but I'm unfamiliar with that sort of transaction.
Sounds like someone's a good friend of somebody somewhere.
The committee was, I think our consensus was, that's fine, but we'll add that to your rent. You know, if you want. So that's where we are, but we're waiting for Philip to do his due diligence and then we'll report.
Very good.
Okay?
Remember, the current lease doesn't expire until January of 18.
Right. So he's on the ball.
19, isn't it?
19.
19,
Yeah,
so-
we're-
You've got some time.
well,
got
that's
some
good.
time to
It's
do
gonna
it
need
right.
the time probably.
And he's doing an excellent job with that. We took on the Veterans Day
you.
ceremony, and Mayor, I would ask you to appoint Councilman Hamner to guide a Veterans Day ceremony planning committee, including town manager, Mrs. Wilson, and various other citizens that would like to get involved. I think your suggestion was spot on, and we want to go ahead and get out in front of this and do it right.
Very good. And just for the audience, it's November, Veterans Day 2018 will be the 100th anniversary of Veterans Day, and I was wrong earlier. That year also it's not the 25th anniversary of the park, it's the 35th anniversary of Sea Park. But I thought maybe what better place to tie it in, and we have the war monument in the park. I mean, it's going to be a big deal nationwide, that Veterans Day next year, not this year, but next year. So thank you. I would entertain that as a motion from the, I can recommend, but the council affirms, I'd make that a motion. If you want to make
I'd be glad to offer that as a motion.
All right, motion's been made, and that will be, Mr. Hamner will chair it. Thank you, Mr. Hamner. The town manager, Yvonne Wilson, and
And anyone else
Yes.
that the manager sees fit, but if, you know, and we're putting out an invitation now, anybody that wants to get involved, but the time to move is right now. Miss Wilson's not here, but she volunteered and
Very
she's
good.
very interested in it.
all in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0.
And we've already taken care of the cemetery report.
Very good, very
I
good.
did have a,
One question, is that, round table meeting about the armory, is that open to the public or that's closed?
yes,
Oh, yes,
yes, that is open as gonna get.
That's one where there will be allowed to be some
Yeah.
discussion because,
That's why, I'm sorry, Mr.
Yeah, no,
Mayor,
you're
that's
right.
why I've asked to use the conference room, and I'm gonna set up the tables, and we're all gonna sit at the table, and we're gonna chew the fat and go from there. So, it's as open as any meeting has ever been. And it's 3 weeks' notice, so I really don't, for those looking, I don't wanna hear any foolishness that somebody can't be represented.
it's Monday, September 11th at 4 o'clock in the police station conference room, we believe. Okay. County Finance.
Accounting Finance has no, we're not asking for any action from council, but I would ask council to consider having a work session to review our meals tax ordinance and to invite all our restaurant owners to come in and attend and maybe have the attorney here. It's my desire that they're fully versed and up to date on the standards required under the current ordinances. There's class 1 misdemeanors involved here, and I'm not, the attorney can speak more to it than me, but I know that's just one step from a felony. And I believe that's 1 year in prison, $12,000 fine, up to,
12 months in jail and up to a $2,500
right, prison or jail?
jail.
Jail, okay. All right, but it's nevertheless, there are, and these are criminal offenses. So would the council consider having a workshop in November to,
And you're
It'll be a council meeting or just a town staff meeting?
no, I'm looking for a council meeting.
The object of this is to
just versatile.
include the restaurant owners and let everybody understand from the get-go what the rules and expectations are both ways.
We don't, most of them right now, I know we've got some issues outstanding, most right now in the town are submitting reports on time and, or even responded to your certified letters, I believe.
Well, there are 4 that have not responded.
Is that still the case?
3. It's 3 too many.
Do we still, I know the Huddle House had the bankruptcy issue. Is there any other establishment besides Huddle House that's delinquent in meals tax?
not delinquent in meals tax, but have not conformed, and if you read the ordinance,
Right.
whatever the treasurer requires, it's a class 1 misdemeanor not to comply. And how many do you have?
Of the four, one has responded and provided documentation. I don't know if it's complete, but documentation has been provided. One has been spoken to directly. I have his phone number in my phone, so we call them. And two additional, I think, still require action. At this point, there's still three that we have not received information.
Your points are spot on. It's serious business.
And this isn't out to get anybody. Everybody
No.
across the board has got the same request.
I'll be honest with you, I mean, I told you it's a part-time gig, I put a lot of time in it, but, I mean, I'm busy, and I saw some things that I mentioned tonight. These funds are held in trust for the town, that's serious business.
If you do it, I recommend you have it on talk to the restaurant owners. We have several restaurants that are closed on Mondays, so Mondays might be more advantageous to them, just because they are, I'll say this right now, that they're very, they work hard.
They do work hard.
I wouldn't want to
just-
run a restaurant.
I just kind of worry.
Who is it?
Well, it's, I do not know, and I do not want to know. No, seriously, that's I do not know, and I do not want to know. But the question before this council right now is, do you want to have a meeting?
Well, I mean,
There's no, I don't see that, there's no negativity that can come from it, other than the fact that I will tell you this, some of them are sensitive, about,
what is there to be sensitive about is the law.
could staff, I guess my question for the council, this is to y'all, it's y'all's call. Could staff handle this meeting, or do you feel that it's better to have all of us up here? I just asked that. Whatever your pleasure is, y'all call a meeting, I'll be here.
I think we're talking about a class 1 criminal misdemeanor here. I think that it's like you wisely said that the 7 of us need to go to Nottaway. I think the 8 of us need to be up here
Okay.
and have the restaurant owners here, the attorney here, and give her time, let her be well versed in it, and then there's no question about whether or not they've been informed, they've been invited. Have handouts I can't understand some of this stuff.
I do agree.
know?
I agree that we need to have a meeting, but I do agree. I think with what the mayor's saying, I don't need to be up here.
You're reaffirming yourself.
I feel more confident if it was just town staff sitting there, and I feel like maybe the restaurant owners wouldn't feel so. I mean, granted, I hope I
That's a
don't
great
look
point.
intimidating up here, but I feel like they'd be more open if it's just town staff sitting right there and just have a round table, whatever.
You made a great point. I'll tell you, I'm very comfortable, even on camera, I'm very comfortable sitting in a chair, but that podium scares the daylights out of me. And Mr. Johnson came up here and handled himself very well tonight, and I appreciate that. That's not very easy to do.
Well,
We know our policy.
Wait a minute, Mr. Green, finish this point. Mr. Mitchell, what is your question, quickly?
How would they know and how do people in the steps when you're, the town council will know about what the people feel they're not there?
Well, that's
Well,
my
if you take-
concern. No, if you could have, I think you may have some no-shows on purpose to protest. Here's my concern, folks. I believe every ordinance in this town should be enforced, so please don't misstate me. But I care about each and every one of you to my left and right, and the staff as well. It will for some folks, and for a lot of them, look heavy-handed. They already are the single-handedly biggest contributor to our finances. Meals tax, as we all know, has got a storied history in Blackstone. And we also know, as town staff has said, we do have some people that have not responded to some certified letters. If we want to get our hands dirty, we can get our hands dirty. I'm not fearful. I do sympathize with the person that's beating their brains out, working hard, like everyone else is in Blackstone, and all of a sudden, we got to go to a meeting to town council and get a lecture, because I pay my meals taxes on time. That's the only thing I'm
Okay,
worried
I
about.
can understand that, but again, I mean, these funds are to be immediately put in the trust of the
That's
town.
correct. I've read it.
This meals tax is paid by the consumer, not by the merchant.
I understand.
And it's prescribed in here how it's supposed to be done. The penalties are described in here. I could care less if Philip does or not. I'm trying to do something so that we can say, don't come crying to me. It's been out there.
Well,
Okay, so
I've used
I
this
could
word.
care less.
I've used this word to describe our town manager many times. You are savvy, Mr. Van Norback. What would you envision would be the best process?
The committee has recommended, I think that we turn this matter over to Tessie for not
Enforcement.
collection, but for notification. You gotta send your paperwork, so we gotta get our stuff. let's continue on that vein, and then hopefully we will try to start at a point prescribed by council to move forward. If you'd like to have committee members there, great. If you'd like to have the whole council there, I don't know if the heavy-handedness of it, we can make individual visits to them if that would be more soothing for, we're not here, and I can tell you, the majority of folks are compliant.
It's clockwork.
The majority of folks, not just turning the paperwork in, but the amount they're paying us,
It's
they're.
Seems
quite
consistent.
aligned.
It seems
We're pretty
consistent.
close. I mean,
Right.
there've been a few here or there, and we still got a few that we just need to talk to. Are there wholesale sales? Are there different sales included in your gross number?
Right.
I don't know if it's necessary to have a council meeting, it's the wish of the council.
No.
But we can
You-
continue in the same vein that the committee started out, speaking with Tessie, and have Tessie handle the legal side of things, okay?
Right.
It is a.
If this is being, if it, wait, hold on a minute here. If this is being misconstrued as me wanting to penalize or attack a restaurant, that is the farthest thing. What I want is to give them the information. So if you feel like that having a council meeting is intimidating to them, then certainly. But I would like to have it in here where it's recorded so I can have the feedback.
Right.
You know, I mean, but if you think, what I'm trying to accomplish here is we have a ordinance in place and it has some severe penalties. I want to work with the merchants so we
Right.
don't have to talk about, do we
Right.
want to file criminal charges against one of our merchants?
I think it's.
I don't want
think
that.
that's needs to be on the table. I mean, obviously, it's part of the ordinance, but I think with just a few payers, I think we've got the majority of the answers we need. We have a couple that we need to clarify what's included in your gross sales.
Right.
Because there's disparity.
Right.
We just gotta get down to the bottom of those few, but overall, I've been mildly surprised that, and not a little close, I think very close. So, and where we've had contact with the restaurant and discussed the disparity.
Right. And another thing, y'all track the sales, and that's what you do. But even when someone has an inconsistent, let's say someone's submitting, let's just say $7,000 in meal set, and they go down to $5,500 one month, you could say, oh, something's happened. But sometimes you have a bad month. Not every restaurants, especially in Blackstone, it's a roller coaster out there. But whatever council's pleasures, I just wanted to throw that was like some free
You all
advice from me.
convinced me that I'm convinced, but I'm pleading that we get this information out to the restaurant owners so they're not caught off guard and they understand the severity of it.
Well, I agree, have an open, but I don't think we up here should be involved.
It's fine,
I think, let the staff handle it, they're capable of doing it.
Let's have Chessie
right.
Yeah.
host and be our presenter.
Council's passed ordinance, staff enforces.
Yeah.
But like I said, I
So
appreciate
we
everybody's.
promise we will sit down and have an opportunity. If somebody doesn't show up, we can even mail any of the handouts to them directly.
Then I'm satisfied. I just don't want to catch any merchant or any of our partners off guard.
Right.
All
right. Very good.
that is my goal. It's not my goal to do anything to harm the merchants. Trust me.
Understood.
If anything, I would like to lessen the burden on them. I don't know how they do it. I mean, the hours they keep, and like you alluded to, it's not an easy business. But we're not talking about taxes. We're talking about money that is, I read tonight, is held in trust for the town.
Right.
So, and I know what that means. That's not their money to start with.
That's right.
Okay.
Do we have good direction from the council? Very good. You have your consent agenda. Is that all, Mr. Green, on account and finance?
Thank you, Mayor.
All right. Consent agenda, 3 items: a cruise-in at the Arts and Crafts Festival, the neighborhood reunion on October 21st, Harris Fitzgerald Street, and the Millstone agreement. In your packet as consent agenda items.
Move to approve. Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Nash, second by Mr. Tucker. He beat you to it. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Unfinished business, we did number 1, did we not? Leaf machine bids. This is one of the most important things in a small town. It may not seem important right now, but in mid-October, in November, it will be. What do we have, Mr. Norbeck?
You may know the town of Blackstone is a member of NJPA, which is a national procurement cooperative, and we looked at prices for leaf machines through NJPA, and we also seal bidded it to see if we could get a comparable price from seal bids. We received one seal bid, but we also received NJPA pricing. I'll let Tim and David pick the machine that they wanted because we left the specifications intentionally rather broad. And I'm making recommendation tonight to purchase from Old Dominion Brush Company in the amount of $29,418.60, the attached leaf machine that you see here. It's a four-cylinder gas, 87 horsepower, and it is NJP price. I am asking that your motion, whoever does make the motion, will reject Virginia Public Works equipment at $29,948, which is a diesel. You choose the gas. They provided a bid on the diesel and a single axle vehicle. So it is,
Well, then that's what I was confused about. So the bid, really, you didn't get a bid. The bid doesn't qualify.
we did not receive a responsive bid, I think is the
Is that
proper
the way you
term.
put it?
Yeah.
So the diesel one was single axle.
Have single axle, we
now,
wanted a double axle.
And I really admire your procurement policy, and I know it's a pain in the neck, but it is. But, so if I'm interpreting this correctly, you didn't receive any bids, so now what you're doing is going to a reliable source, and you feel this is this within what you had budgeted? I mean,
We had 45,000 budgeted, so we're 15 under.
okay.
When will this thing be delivered and functional, operating?
It'll be operating as soon as the leaves start falling, which I assume will be in the month of October. But the equipment is available and on site, and we can go pick it up at any time.
This will give the town how many functioning leaf trucks when leaf season gets here? Two. Do we have a backup?
This will be our new one and the one that we had. We had one that fell apart on us, and that's why we're purchasing one. So our one existing would become our spare.
The biggest enemy of the leaf, it's the gravel, isn't it? It's the gravel's the biggest enemy on a leaf truck.
Just sticks and
Sticks.
any junk in it.
This is a straight-up cash purchase.
We had money in the bank.
Got the money in the
How do we
bank.
do that?
Harry Potter, baby.
I
do
entertain a
that.
motion from
Being raised
council.
Harry Potter in the house.
I entertain a motion from council.
I moved approved.
Is there a second to Mr. Green's motion? Mr. Moncur seconds. I'll ask for a roll call vote, starting with Mr. Moncur. Motion carries 6-0. Committee assignments, I sent out an email. We're supposed to do that every July. The mayor only recommends, council approves. I sent an email to the clerk, and no one said, Billy, I don't like this committee. Billy, I want to swap. So my recommendation is to keep the committees as they are with the same chairpersons. But I need a motion from council to do that through June 30th, 2018.
So moved.
Motion been made by Mr. Nash, second by Mr. Scott.
I want to raise the pay on chairman's.
I think it should be doubled. Doubled. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. We have in your packet a weatherization assistance update. There are 3 properties. Does this council need approving, or is that just information?
Our program design, because this is not grant money.
This is coming from that fund we set up.
No, but this is a fund that we set up when we received the payments every month from people whose homes have been renovated in the past. Those payments are intended to become a revolving fund, and we put that back in. This is not the town's weatherization funds that we set aside.
Okay.
This is purely paid for through the payments received every month from people who've had their homes renovated back into the Taylor Bottom project, okay? And I congratulate Jennifer for setting it aside and for Gwyneth for finding and making sure that everybody who was supposed to be making payments is making payments, and I think we're there. We have over $100,000 that have been setting aside for years and years and years, and so when Yvonne started working with us, we decided we're going to have a weatherization program. Remember, we adopted a program design. We're bringing this to you specifically because our program design says anything in excess of $10,000 requires town council approval. Up to $10,000, which I think is the statutory figure in the town code for us to spend, but this would require town council approval. The 3 homes are in excess of $76,000, all being paid for, not with grants, not with town money, but with the payments that are received every month from individuals whose homes have been renovated.
And this goes back to like the Irvin Street project and the Castles Trailer Park, all these, that's great that y'all found
This
that.
goes back to Taylor Bottom project, which is before I left here.
Oh, and that's like the mid.
97.
Yeah.
I will, I'm gonna sound like a bearer of bad news here, but you look at the list and one of the recipients, and no names mentioned, is delinquent on taxes from last year. So is there next in line that should receive?
There will be no project undertaken until all taxes are paid. They know, the property owners know that.
Okay. Members of the council, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Scott, I think, had a question.
Mr. Scott has a question.
On, what's the deal with the East End planning grant?
Hang on one second, I couldn't hear you.
East End grant,
East End Planning Grant.
Nothing to report at this time. I haven't heard.
never heard anything?
Should be any day now.
But no one has, so I don't think it bodes,
There'll be a
Ill.
big announcement any day now, I'm
the
sure.
governor will hand out a big check and do all those kinds of things.
You want council approval on these three properties? You want to make it contingent upon,
Contingent on all taxes, and all the property owners have been told that the taxes have to be paid.
and Mr. Nash asked about utility bills too.
We can make sure all utility accounts, if that's so the wishes of council, we'll make sure that's done.
Blackstone is paying for
Make that your
this.
motion, Mr. Nash. Oh, let me get yes, sir, Mr. Nathaniel
I
Miller.
got a question.
Yes.
I think, isn't there a disparity amongst this thing? Is it, yes, is this thing kind of leveled out, or is it more, one person getting more than the other?
There's three that exceed the policy. That the policy, he stated at $10,000. There are three. One is 30, one's 24,000, one's 22,000, just because the weatherization needs were identified to be significant.
I have the work write-ups for each home, if you'd like to look at them. And the work write-ups were done not by town staff, but by Earl with Southside Housing Rehab.
Yeah, it's done by independent sources.
When is the next time you could apply for the, weather?
We'll get you that information right after the meeting. I want to get this motion a
I
second
move
cleared.
to approve
We'll
the,
get you that information.
do you have something?
I do. I don't have a problem with it, I just wanna know. Is this a grant, or is this they make payments?
These
Back
are-
into the pool?
And they will be making payments as
Back
well.
into the pool, okay.
Back into the pool, and hopefully we'll be able to
Okay.
do,
I just wanna know.
Yeah.
I just wanna know. If I'm asked, I like to know.
That's good,
Okay. And remind me to ask you about, after we do this, the DBI pool. Just
Yeah,
remind me,
okay.
okay?
I move to approve of the 3 weatherization projects in town, pending that all past due debts, utility bills, accounts are all settled.
Second.
Motion been made in second. I'll ask for a roll call vote, starting with Mr. McCure. The motion carries 6-0.
While we're on the topic.
Yes.
We had a pool downtown in that first phase grant. I forgot all about it.
you had to pull downtown, plus I think DBI has received another $25,000. I think Zach is nodding his head, and I can tell you the exact amount that you have, or DBI or the town has, in loan pool funds is $73,000. Everybody is paid up and not in arrears. Everything
Is that it? And I'm embarrassed to ask you this because I feel like I'm one of the founding fathers of DBI. Is that strictly for facade, or is that for HVAC? Or
I think you could use it for
Operating
things,
capital. You can do whatever you need.
working
to.
capital, but you have job creation requirements and some investment requirements.
I remember that part.
I think it's the same thing, the brew house, or the
Just to
cabinet
clarify,
company.
you know, that's sort of, it's not, I don't know how actively enforced it is. If I say I'm going to add on to the print shop tomorrow and hire 7 people, and hire 7 the first day and say, things are kind of slow. I don't know how tightly that's enforced, but we play by those are the rules.
I don't know how the press would handle that.
Be terrible. I see Mr. Peanut Johnson very quickly.
Who will be doing the construction of this, because you know what happened to Mr. Nighthouse?
No, the contract award was given to Harvey's Enterprise and Son, and then Superior Builders of Amelia got 2 of the,
Superior Builders is Ricky Garrison,
they won bids.
and Harvey's Enterprise, I think, is somebody from down South Boston way.
Because, Mr. Knight had his house bid by that grant up there, this whole ceiling.
That was the garage, right? Talking about Patty Ann night?
Yeah,
Yeah, that was the garage.
no, his living room, not talking about Jerome.
But there should be some recourse, the town should have recourse against,
Right.
We've contacted insurance company and Southside Outreach, who administered the project, so hopefully we'll give Jerome an answer. It may not be exactly what he's looking for, but and I don't know the town's culpability.
is it recent?
Yeah, this happened last week,
All right.
How long ago was this project completed?
A couple years ago, I suppose.
It was to come from the weight of the installation and how they had cut the vent holes. And every time they cut the AC unit on, it was sucked them.
So you've been informed of this, right, Bill? Okay. so-
Jerome Knight's contacted me, and
That's a pretty big
Mr.
deal.
Johnson
Thank you for bringing it. Very
again,
good.
I don't know the town's culpability, but
Right.
I need somebody to wade me through it, and Mr. Knight has some personal property that's been damaged.
Before we go any further.
Yes, Mr. Green has the floor.
Number two on the consent agenda, When you respond to them, would you give them my regards of how a lovely letter that is? And I just enjoyed reading it, you know? So when you respond that we've approved it, would you pass my regards along? It's a very lovely letter.
That's the Harris Fitzgerald. Very good,
Right.
very good. Number 5 is Nottaway Commons. I know you've read your letter from the county on your request for the boundary adjustment, and this is where Mr. Novak wants to know, do you wish to respond? Well, we sent a letter to the county.
I remember, didn't you respond back to him?
No, this was their official action in July, and
Well, not that I want to have anything, I want to hide anything, or I want to keep anything in secret, but I do want to protect our taxpayers. And I mean, is this an area we could talk about in executive session? Or,
if it's legal, I mean, it's certainly, I think you could make the argument, of course, I don't know what you have
the
in
reason I
mind.
say that is.
Probable, they have to be probable litigation, or legal matters with
Well,
the
see,
attorney. The
I
attorney's
don't
present,
want-
legal
I
matters.
want to protect my constituents, and whatever options or counteroffers that we might want to make, I'm just asking, are we able to do that in closed session so that we could speak freely on behalf of the taxpayer?
We have our legal counsel here, so I'm sure she can opine. I think you're stretching a little bit.
Okay, well, I'm asking, I'm asking while she's sitting there.
So Chessie understands, we had written a letter to the county in regards to potential boundary adjustment of some property for Nottaway Commons, which is a hotel project outside of town. And we had set a series of negotiated conditions, expanded areas for boundary adjustment, all those kinds of things, assistance with a fire truck. And this is the county's response to each of those points.
And their response basically says, we support you taking Nottaway Commons and nothing more into town.
And no additional, at this time, no additional fire truck money, and that they would agree to assist us with the upgrade of the wastewater plant, the
So,
amount of
if memory
120.
serves, we had three conditions, and they approved a third of one of the.
That would be exactly, that'd be
Okay.
exactly right.
Okay, they approved 1/3 of one of the requests.
That's correct,
They approved
yeah.
taking $120,000 of the tobacco commission money and doing
I'm
the,
sorry, there was 4 items, and so they approved 1 and 1/3 of the items.
Right. Now, Mr. Nash and I did attend a meeting, I think everybody needs to know this, and I'm not dare saying there's clouds on the horizon, but phase 1 of Nottaway Commons was going to be 500 hotel rooms.
correct.
The project has now been delayed due to the fact that Mr. Gomez from Miami, Florida has just completed a project in the Dominican Republic, and now it's 350 hotel rooms. And then you may ask out loud, you may say, well, what kind of hotel are we going to get? It now seems to be likely that the hotel will not be a franchise or a chain because it makes sense.
Franchise
If you're going to be
fees.
serving the Fast Seat trainees who are already there, do you need to pay Holiday Inn to have a sign and go through all the franchise rigmarole when you can just build a nice brick hotel and have your people coming no matter what? 'Cause-
Well, I can answer that question, dear, I can answer that question. No, you don't want to mess with a franchise, trust me.
Right. Right.
It's very expensive.
But to answer Mr. Green's question, I think if this issue had not been discussed publicly at public meetings before, I think you'd have some leeway. I think because we're discussing a very public proposal that's been
Yeah.
It's
discussed.
fine, I just asked
Yeah,
a question.
yeah.
I feel a lot more comfortable talking about the taxpayers' options in private,
I understand.
not to keep anything from them, but to
Understand.
protect them.
Strategy. I understand.
But that's fine, I asked, so,
I agree with Mr. Green, that, we don't have too many chips in this game anyway. And how we play our hand on what we do, our rationale, probably needs to be kept a little closer to the vest for a while.
There's no urgency. It's not, they're not even done, the master plan for the project has not even taken place. Once the master plan's done, they've got to do soil samples. Then after that, then they'll go to the county planning commission, the county board of supervisors, and then maybe you might see ground broken in 6 months. So I don't think time is of the essence as far as action, but, you know, maybe each of us could think among ourselves and think how the town might best respond. But I don't think there's any urgency to respond right now publicly.
I'm not comfortable talking about it. I'm
The-
not
the-
talk-
I
I'm not
encourage you-
comfortable-
I encourage you
not
to lobby each
comfortable
other.
exposing my boss's weaknesses
Right.
until we all are able to have more information, more insight on actually what we're taking on.
Right. I would encourage members of council
I move we table this until we don't respond to the letter, and we table this until such time the town manager needs to engage the council.
And at that time, a motion to resurrect the issue will be required. Is there a second to Mr. Green's motion?
Second.
Mr. Nash, a second. This is the table until further notice,
Until the town manager brings it back to our attention.
at which time there would need to be a fresh motion to revive the issue for discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Is you all afraid that Blackstone will be like Southfield? Downtown Southfield is.
No, to be honest with you, Mr. Johnson, I don't
And Florida gonna be all the business?
know what to be afraid of and what not to be afraid of, okay? I really don't. I think we would be premature to respond to this before we had all the information.
You've asked a good question. I'll just tell you my concern. I think most of the members of council believe this. The concern from the town is because we are so dependent on the meals tax. Let's say they open up tomorrow and we're selling them water and making about $400,000 you have to water because they're out of town. They're charging them double for the water and sewer. And then all of a sudden, Jennifer Hardy and Gwinnett and the next treasurer say, hey, we got a problem. We've got meals tax shrinkage. The county has, and I would say nicely, said, look, if that becomes a phenomenon, we will have no problem with y'all putting that area in town so you can get cigarette tax, meals tax revenue, and also to have a level playing field with the restaurants downtown
That's my biggest concern.
so that people, that's, it's fairness. It's not out, I don't think it's greed per se, it's fairness and to make sure that our biggest revenue pie is not disintegrated. But the beauty thing about this is that because meals tax is watched monthly, if they're eating our lunch, we can see it coming.
Well, I have a hard time not annexing it,
I know you do.
because of I know there's some restaurant owners won't believe this, but I can't see giving an advantage to someone right outside of town with all the perks of being right outside town, because you're going to send a fire truck, you're going to send a policeman over there, you're going to do all that, and it's $6.50 on a $100 meal if you took a family of 5 or 6 out. People would consider that, and it's an unfair advantage to the restaurant owners in town. So that's why I don't think we know enough.
But the time is on our side because right now, as we speak tonight, as it was 1 year ago, as it was 6 months ago, there are 73 acres out there of brush, weeds, and pine trees. Still there, undisturbed. But thank y'all, members of council, and good question, Mr. Johnson. This next
Are
part.
you satisfied with that? Because I just want to make sure, I don't want anybody to think that I'm trying to do something behind anybody's closed doors. I just don't really want to advertise our position, So,
I got a question.
Mr. Miller.
Are you, okay, we're sitting here talking, and it seems
They're our
like
constituents.
there's a rift between the town of Blackstone and Fast Track. What are we gonna try to do?
not that I'm enough.
But, I mean, you're saying this, but I mean, in all actuality, a few of us have only actually really started dealing with the military right now. So we're really not up to par as to say that this is an everyday thing, right? Dealing with this.
I don't think there's any, Mr. Miller, I don't think there's any problem with Fast C whatsoever. The rift is between us and the county. And I'm,
County, but let's face it this way. I mean, I've been dealing with the government for probably 35
bless
years.
you.
And, you say it's the county. But in other words, what I'm thinking is going to have to happen is the county and Fast Track and Blackstone is going to have to get together, or somebody's going to end up losing.
But here's the thing we have to remember about Blackstone's role. Blackstone did not bring Fast C to Pickett. Fast C chose Pickett, and the only reason Nottaway County got involved is Nottaway County had to sell some of its land to make the campus 1,300 acres. All Blackstone's hoping and praying for is that we get some economic benefit from it, because if you've been around town, right, things are tight right now down in town. But we open our arms. And in fact, I've told the State Department, put me on a plane. I don't like to fly. I'll go anywhere and sell this town and talk about why this town is good to live in, why this county is better than living in Woodlake and driving 45 minutes each day.
The mayor and I had a good meeting on Thursday. Chuck Raderstorff with Fast C
Yes.
was there. So there's no animosity held,
No.
trust me.
No, we've
Between
met
that.
with them. We've met with them on various issues, and there's no problem there. The problem is with the county that they see one way, we see another, and I don't think we ought to be talking about until all of us have more information than we've heard back from the town manager.
So in other words, you're saying that communication is breaking down between the town of Blackstone and Nottaway.
I wouldn't even say that. I would say, well, here's what's going on right now.
enough size.
They are building a massive $430 million facility out there. My fear as mayor of this town, and there's not much I can do about it, is the 400 people that work out there, it appears that many of them are going to drive in from Wood Lake and other places, come out there, we'll never know they're here. And then you say 10,000 trainees. Oh boy, that's going to be great for Blackstone. Right now, as we speak, Pickett trains 100,000 men and women a year. You're adding 10,000. Oh, guess what? Of the 10,000, 6,500 of them, this is Chuck Rader's store, 65% of them are going to be bussed in from DC on Sunday, take a 5-day course, and going to be bussed back on Friday night. So I think listen, Uncle Sam's going to build one Fast C. He's chosen near Blackstone. I'm not going to boo that,
No.
but I'm not going to go out there and expect it to be raining dollar bills anytime soon. And that's just the reality. And that may sound pessimistic, but I believe it's realistic.
So my answer to you, sir, is if you ask me a question, you'd rather me say I don't know, I'll get back to you, than lie to you. Is that right? So I'm not ready to go on record because I can't answer the question. So
It's still an unknown, because like I said, Nottaway Commons, Mr. Gomez, Miami, Florida, it sounds like, oh, it's great. All of a sudden, it's like, well, it's smaller, it's not going to be a chain, there's been no ground broken. I'm Missouri, show me. Show me, I'm the show me state. All right, let's move right along. Thank y'all. We have ongoing projects, dilapidated buildings, there's nothing. Meals tax everyone but Huddle House, which is in bankruptcy. Street improvement, Mr. Van Norbeck on South Main.
Yeah, get ready for about a month of inconvenience and unpleasantry. It started today as we expected it to. It is a
Did you do that on
storm.
purpose, started on the day of the council meeting?
Pardon?
Did you do it on purpose to start
No,
on
they
the
told
day
us
of-
when they were coming. Unfortunately, it's the same day that Colony Construction and several others are in town. But South Main Street's going to be a bit of a mess for about a month. Okay. For about a month.
And that's gonna take care of that awful problem down there.
If you ever driven down after a 2-inch rain in October when the leaves are on the ground, and if you had noticed, there's a lot of patching that goes on. It's just, we spent $90,000 patching South Main Street over the past couple, 3 years. And this is what we intend on to be the permanent fix.
Can we make sure that the trenches are all packed in correctly and
We have hired Hurt and Profit to be a materials testing, and we have a full-time inspector on the job.
6 months from now, we're tearing it back up to?
What was the final price on this? This is Biggs, right?
$642, I think.
Okay. All right, no action needed.
While we're on this subject and the police chief is here and he's back to full schedule, I'm responsible for the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit signs on Brunswick Avenue, my first attempt. And I'm asking you, as a resident of that area, to patrol Brunswick College and Lunenburg Avenues, because that time people were going through there, and I walk a circuit around there, and I'm amazed how many children in the neighborhood, which I'm grateful for. I had no idea. It's 2 or 3 public school buses and 1 Kinston Forest bus full just in my community, just in my little neighborhood. So, if you will, put your trailer up there and during this 30 days, like you did last time. You did an excellent job of curbing it. I appreciate it.
All right, very good. Church Street project, you've got 4 homes you're going to begin
It's
renovating?
actually going to be 5. There's a duplex located on Church Street that is to the rear of 809 Church Street, 811, 816 Church Street, and I believe it's 802 2nd Street. There's a blue house on the right-hand side as you're going to the west. All those homes have been bid. These are through grant projects. This is not local money, but this is all Department of Housing Community Development grant. So there'll be 5 additional units that'll be
Very
renovated there.
good, very good. Wigglesworth,
Some folks have asked why, the road looks bad over here and all sorts of things, and all agreed. In an effort to try to accelerate getting the road paved on Harris Street and curb and gutter and all those kind of things, I've been informed that we have to wait until we have an agreement in hand with the Department of Transportation. That'll be on or about the 1st of October.
how much is that grant we got?
We received $206,000.
Will that be too late for paving?
Yes, probably. I anticipate trying to get it paved before opening day. I would like to say that, but you can certainly do the concrete work. The expectation would be that we'd try to get some pavement down immediately before opening day. That would
They're
be
going to fix that dip in
ideal.
the big dip in Harris Street. Is it Harris Street?
Harris Street is, they won't go down that far.
Oh,
Stops
okay,
right
okay.
That will be kind of the in-between. We were paving today, a section of Harris Street between School and Patterson Street, and that'll be paved. There'll be a section of it paved, so you'll have that. We're moving some utility poles, then you'll have a gap in between the two schools, and the grant project itself will go about to the terminus of the volleyball court. Okay, from Birch Street to the terminus of the volleyball court.
Nothing new on East End planning grant, but we're expecting an announcement any day now.
Any day now.
Good or bad. Nottaway Avenue,
Paving's ongoing. Met with VDOT today, and they're agreeable to pay for the portion of surface treatment. As you know, they're just putting in a patch along the edge of the curb. That's just a patch, okay? And we're going to patch a couple bad places, and then when Whitehurst comes in the month of September, we're going to surface treat, double shot of tar and gravel for the entire portion inside the town. And VDOT today agreed that they would pay for it to be done to the end of state maintenance, so it'll all look consistent.
excellent, that's great. So we're looking at that project being wrapped up by the end of September, maybe.
Yeah.
Outstanding. Utility upgrade, nothing to report. We now get on to new business. Your first item, my goodness, this is storm sewer improvements. Mr. Norbeck.
This was included in the budget. This is storm sewer improvements that for the alley behind Acapulco's and the old People's Building that I've seen water there significantly, and the business owners
Flooded
are
around
I can tell you.
10, 12 years.
Yes.
So we applied for DHCD grant money for downtown. We're unsuccessful, so we are and have budgeted for this project. It includes that storm sewer, but also one of the next projects that we want to undertake is the replacement of the water and sewer lines and mains in Amelia Avenue between the bridge and Nottaway, with the expectation that we'll be following up with paving improvements and curb and gutter and sidewalk on that section of the street.
Do we need any action on these contracts?
I'd like for you to approve a task order for the engineers in the amount of $25,000 for the design work.
Second, is that just second, number two you're asking for now? Item number one, do you need us any action?
Item number one, I'd like you to authorize us to execute an agreement in the amount of $25,000 with B&B for the design.
Do we know what project costs will be?
We budgeted $135,000 for construction.
That will happen in this fiscal year, you believe?
I think the design will the construction, yeah, the whole thing will happen in fiscal year. Design will be done before the calendar year. I don't think the construction will take place.
I move to approve the $25,000 engineer fee.
Is there a second to Mr. Nash's motion? Mr. Scott has seconded. Discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, starting with Mr. McCure.
Excuse me,
I'm
Mayor,
sorry,
over
okay.
$10,000.
Yeah, roll call.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
all right. I'll wake up in a minute. Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. Very good. How about the Amelia Avenue? Is that,
And just so you know, that project is funded by cash. We have the cash in place and it's in hand and we're ready to go.
which one?
That storm sewer and
Okay, behind
water and sewer
Acapulco's.
project.
Get you some.
That and the water and sewer project are all done.
Excellent, excellent.
Because we put aside, and we continue to do this just like we began in 2011, we pay ourselves our contributions that are required before we make payroll every month. Before we pay any other bills, we pay ourselves. The first pay period of this fiscal year, we pay for the leaf truck. The second, third, and fourth pay periods of this fiscal year, we paid for the storm sewer project. So we're prepared for you to go ahead and authorize to move forward and get it done.
All right, do you need a motion on two, you want to do a motion on 2 and 3?
No, I don't think you need to approve
Okay,
the bids
okay.
yet, but we are
Well
going
done on the
to.
money. Well done on the money, staff. Mr. Norbeck.
And the second task order before you is for the design of the airport road.
Yes.
This road would be going directly into the industrial portion of the property. We've tried VDOT Economic Development Assistance Grants, we've tried Tobacco Commission, we've tried Department of Aviation, and no one seems to be interested in building the road unless there are certain conditions met, conditions that Joe Allman would be required to meet with investment and number of jobs and all those kinds of things. We have set aside the airfield revenues for some time
That's all we can do is use it on the airport.
in the airport. So as of today, we have $119,000 of cash sitting in the airfield fund, and we intend on using that. I'm asking authorization to award a task order to B&B Consultants in the amount of $4,500 for the design of the airfield road.
Second.
Mr. Nash has moved, Mr. Green is second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Lecture department, on the truck, we sold our old bucket truck.
That's amazing. That's just, it's amazing that $49,000.
That was several items.
That was all of the surplus list. We received about $8,500 of that 49 were buses, and that has to be returned to the bus fund. But we have a net to the town of about $41,000. And that added to our recycling money. We recycle a lot of metal, fire hydrants, old dumpsters, old confiscated cars, all those kinds of things. We have enough money to buy 2 pickup trucks, and I'm asking authorization to purchase 2. One is a 3/4 ton, one is a 1/2 ton pickup truck. One will be administration, me, and the other one will go to Dan Martin, and it'll be a utility body to go to Dan. His current truck will go to the service department, the electric guys that cut off meters and do those kinds of things, and their truck will be turned over to the grass cutting crews.
So you're gonna get a new ride.
I'm gonna get a new ride. The red truck is beyond,
Two-wheel or four-wheel?
mine will be 4-wheel drive.
Both of them four-wheel drive?
Both of them 4-wheel drive.
That would be my recommendation.
The bucket truck brought in almost $13,000.
Bucket truck bought in 12.8, I believe, and the garbage truck was 19.8.
I move to approve the request to replace 2 pickups.
Motion been made and second. Any further discussion? I'll have a roll call vote, starting with Mr. McCure. Motion carries 6-0. I think the last time a new vehicle was bought for a town manager in Blackstone was probably, is it the white car? Or Jay Lee, the truck David drives, that was bought for Jay Lee in '94. I mean, it's been a long time.
The white police car that I think Larry bought was an old police cruiser or whatever, and that red pickup truck was purchased new in '94
Making progress here.
when I drove up to Alexandria to go get it years and years ago.
All right, new business number 4, the appropriation of airport proceeds.
In order to make this $119,000 available, the full amount, the $35,400 that Joe and UAV Pro paid for the purchase of the property, we've been keeping that aside in a separate line. We've now moved that into the airport revenues, and that'll be, a portion of it will be used for the road construction. And in order to do so, I'm asking approval of this appropriation of $35,400.
Mr. Green, Mr. Green made the motion. I'll let Mr. Moncur second. I'll ask for a roll call vote because it's over 10,000, even though it's a transfer of Mr. McCure.
Right.
Motion carries 6-0. And just in case you're wondering, some of you, anything over $10,000 requires by town charter a roll call vote. Grant writing services, I believe we've taken care of new business number 5. Number 6 is a resolution I got from Mayor Greg Eanes of Crew. He's passionate about state parks. It's simply a sample resolution that they provided us supporting asking the General Assembly to continue full funding of Virginia State Parks. Unfortunately, we don't have a park in Blackstone, but Mr. Eanes would tell you that we benefit from all the tourism that comes through here. There's no cost to the town.
Move that the mayor strike a signature.
All right. Is there a second to Mr. Nash's motion? Mr. Tucker is second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Next, you have a 5K run from Heritage Hall with 2 very interesting routes.
Are they doing
I don't know, but I know the one going through Lakeview Cemetery where you run to the very back of the cemetery, down the hill, and you come back up the hill. Yeah, that's gonna be fun.
I do not want to see anything other than family in the cemetery. I'm against
I worried
pets
about
and
that.
dogs and people jogging.
Funeral. You can have a funeral that day or something. The Heritage Hall submitted 2 routes. Both are 5Ks. They both start at Heritage Hall and finish at Heritage Hall. One route takes you through Lakeview Cemetery. One route does not. It's on a Saturday. It's the October 28th. My first concern was if there is a funeral or family gathering, even though it is early, 9 o'clock. But there are some people in town that has made it very clear that.
This way, it's an area we ought to keep off limits.
Okay.
Period.
Right. Whatever council's pleasures, I have no vested interest.
The second map, is that what they're asking?
Yep.
For the route that does not go into Lakeview
All right.
Cemetery.
Is there a second to Mr. Nash's motion?
I second the motion.
All right. Green second. Any discussion?
It's a good question.
Has Heritage Hall talked to you about Saturday, October 28th?
Do they need to do a permit or anything, or?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, they file a permit, they get permission from you, and they usually review the route with me.
Okay.
About traffic.
Well, I mean, have you seen the route?
Only this evening.
Okay.
Okay.
Are you prepared to make any recommendation?
Well, hearing from council, I like either to the second route. I like the route that the Arts and Crafts Festival uses. Maybe we'll stay with that, one standard route for 5K. We also need to talk about the time, 4 hours is way too long.
Yes, wait, John. The good news about this, it starts at 7, so there's less traffic in Blackstone at 7 versus 8 or 9 on a Saturday. I would ask that you approve it contingent upon the consultation with the police chief, and maybe at the next month meeting, you could have the consent agenda, approve the permit. All right, Mr. Manash has amended his motion to incorporate that.
So you basically, I want to make sure I understand what you're amending here. You're giving the authority to the chief to pick the right route.
You're approving route number 2 with the chief's blessing and with the understanding that they're going to, at next month's council meeting, there'll be a parade permit under consent agenda.
And
to
the
formally
time, the concerns about times would
Well,
be.
he also said he likes the other route. You like that better?
Yeah, but then I don't think it would be a Heritage Hall 5K, because they like the idea of starting and finishing at their place of business.
I understand that.
This one doesn't cross Main Street, which is another bonus,
Yeah.
Right.
which is safer, I think.
I have no objection if the chief does it. My
I do,
opinion.
my concern is that it does say roads closed. Typically, the roads aren't closed.
It's not gonna be closed. 6th Street will be closed probably because that's will be the start-finish
Correct,
line.
start and finish.
And they have festivities there
They
probably.
have enough construction going on right there, that'll be closed in.
That's right.
I think I can resolve all these matters.
Yeah, I think, and Chief, we trust. I'll ask for, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Next is just a rather annual relieving
Relieving the treasurer of delinquent property real estate and personal property taxes. As you know, the state code relieves the treasurer of the collection duties after 20 years of real estate
Is it one or
and
2
5 years after personal property. The real estate figure that Gwyneth has included for you is that is over 20 years is $42.84.
bad. That's pretty good.
And
Unless the mayor
Do 2
feels like,
motions. So you can do one motion. One motion.
unless the mayor feels like we need to do this public record, this is just standard procedure.
Yes.
I move, it's two separate items.
one is the real estate, $42.84 personal property, which are 5 years or longer. Doesn't mean we won't still collect them.
Oh, I know you're doing
We'll
a
still
great
try to
job.
get them, but it relieves her of the obligation. It's $652.19.
Move both,
Personal property.
both be done in one motion, and
Motion been made and second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. New business number 9, Mr. Green has asked to discuss Main Street tractor trailer.
I just needed to get a refresher. I've had it. The council doesn't have any desire to discuss it. I've been briefed on it.
Okay? Then
I think the street committee, Mr. Scott requested some time ago a response from VDOT.
forgot about
And VDOT is not really groovy on your truck detour.
they do not like it.
They don't like it.
All right, under committee referrals, there's a request, a travel policy. I support me traveling anywhere you want me to go.
We have some questions about being reimbursed and all those kinds of things, and we'd just like to, and I think Jennifer would like to, have a policy on how we reimburse, what is appropriate, what are the amounts reimbursable, what are our per diems. We don't really have a figure. Obviously, we tell everybody, don't drink alcohol, and you gotta pay for your wife, and beyond that, we don't have a strict policy. So we'd like to have some dollar figures, how many miles, with reimbursement if you use your personal vehicles, all those kinds of things. We encourage people to use town vehicles at all times, okay? But we'd like to write it down.
On a side note, and this probably is not related, is anyone planning on going to VML this year? I know one time we used to send some people there. I have not been in several years. I didn't know if that was, okay.
I hadn't planned on going.
I've been busy, but
If anybody from council would like to go, I'll be happy to go with you, but I had not planned on it.
I will refer this to, what's a committee that hasn't been meeting a lot lately? I don't want to do account and finance. I'm going to go
Cable
health and
TV.
ordinance. What's that?
Cable TV.
I'll go health and ordinance. Health and ordinance. It just makes sense, I guess. Health and ordinance committee. Yes. Sam, I need you on that cable TV committee. Come on.
I have two other additional items that Josh would like me to bring up. One of them may be controversial. As you know, Josh is working with the bus system. I was not here at the time, but I understood that there was some controversy about advertising on buses. Okay. Josh has come to me as a fresh set of eyes and would like to look at the possibility of that. And I assured him I would bring it to council's attention for committee referral to look at as a good idea or a bad. I understand there's some history there. We're not trying to rehash that, but I think Josh, for his purposes, would like to discuss it with the council or a committee of council. And
I'll refer that to the Health and Ordinance Committee.
And then the last item, if you would, Josh has been pretty active in trying to support students at Virginia Tech or Southside Community College, specifically the community college, trying to create an internship program. And we're not talking about a paid internship at this time. I don't know if we will in the future either, but we would like to see if there's some opportunities for interns, either at the bus system or town hall. And Josh has asked that we take a look at that. And if you would also refer that to committee.
Are you envisioning, any kind of students? These will all be college students?
College students.
But it could be like summertime?
Potentially, yeah. I mean,
Most likely during the regular semesters, like fall and spring.
Okay.
SVCC seems to be the better option because they are closer.
Sure.
And we do already have an established partnership with them through the bus system. But also looking at places like Virginia Tech and different colleges in the area.
Love it.
It's innovative.
I don't want to take anything away from a committee.
I don't think the
but
committee
there's
needs to be-
Where's the downside of this? I mean,
I think proceed with vigor and find what
Let
you,
him get it together, bring it back before the whole council.
what's that?
Let him get it all together, bring it back.
I
before the
agree.
council.
We can
You
bring that
good?
back, we'll have a report from him either in September or October if possible and do that.
I like the sounds of that. I do. I commend you doing a very, very good job.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I have nothing on the mayor's minutes other than to thank everybody for coming tonight. And the police chief is here. Anybody have any questions of the police chief's report? This is opportunity number 2. Before we go in, we do have a closed session matter regarding the town shop. Anyone like to ask a question? Make any comments? David Patterson.
When you were talking about the electric, were you talking about the electric for us also?
To refresh my memory, we've been through a lot
When
tonight.
you was talking about the electric rates,
Construction policy, I believe.
okay, is that gonna affect our rates also?
It's not gonna change anything, it's just gonna be putting in writing that
Just trying to
the
form-
town collects, that the town connects your house free of charge if you do overhead lines, and then if you do underground, they charge you just for the material. That's all.
Commercial paper materials as well.
He's just trying to get something in writing to reflect what we currently do. It has nothing to do with changing anybody's electric rates.
Okay, all right.
Good question. This time, I don't, yes.
I move that we go into closed session for discussion or consideration of the acquisition of real property for a public purpose or for the disposition of publicly held real property, where discussion in an open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiation strategy of the public body.
Is there a
How was
second?
that?
Is there a second? All right.
Second.
Motion been made and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. We now stand in open session. Thank you all for coming.
Closed session.
Close session.
Closed session. Mr.